All right, so today we are here with the epic Doug Van Sant today. How's it going?
Hi.
I wanted to bring them on because I've gotten to know him and some of the other Insomniac photographers over the last year, and the shit they do is absolutely out of this world, so I wanted to take this opportunity to sit down with them. So, are you excited for EDC and EDM Biz this week?
Of course I'm excited. It's the biggest time of the year for us. So.
Tell us a little bit about how you began with photography.
Oh gosh. Well, I started out as a writer, actually. I was writing about dance music in 2003 and really kind of wanted people to read my column. So I took a small little camera into a couple of the clubs in Tampa, Florida, and I would take pictures of them and post them up on the website tbo.com, which was Tampa Bay Online. And I don't know, I was challenged by it. I found it very interesting and I loved the music, and so I just kind of slowly shifted from taking pictures, or from writing to taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, I was shooting and not writing.
Yeah. And how long ago was that?
Well, it started in 2003 and the full shift started really around 2007, 2008. So I think it was, I'd moved to California and I was going to Ruby Sky and started photographing there, and that's when I realized there was an actual art form to DJ photography.
Mm-hmm.
And I also realized that I didn't really like shooting the photos of the people in the club. I really was focused on the artist. I was fascinated by them and then the production in the club.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of where it shifted as well.
Yeah. And how did you start getting into more festivals and Insomniac?
Oh gosh, well, let's see. In 2010, I was given a press credential to Electric Zoo in New York. And I was working for the WB station in DC, doing some entertainment nightlife stuff for them, writing as well. And they went to Electric Zoo. I got a really cool photo of Afrojack. And that photo, he launched one of his websites with it, and I started shooting for him and a couple other people at Ultra later that year, or the next year. And then, yeah, it just went from there. Festivals started happening. At the time, the guy who ran the photo team at Electric Zoo was Bennett Selkline.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 2012, he brought me onto the team and shot in 2012, 2013, and then shot BPM Festival with him. And then he got hired by Insomniac to run their photo program. And at that point, started shooting every single festival for Insomniac.
Yeah. So you also have a unique story. When we sat down for coffee last year at EDM Biz as well, you were actually working another job full time, and then you kind of made the jump. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, yeah, I was a web producer for AARP. And if people don't know, AARP is it's the largest lobbying group in the United States. They lobby for people over the age of 50. So it could be anything from retirement to Medicare, Medicaid, and anything that you think about once you hit 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great job, but I just started doing more and more festivals, getting more and more opportunities, and I started to have to turn opportunities down. And there came a point when I had to turn down a tour that was through Germany, Belgium, UK, and I just was really upset about that. I was like, I had to turn this down. Yeah, and so I was starting to get a little upset about the job itself. I felt like there was a very corporate side of things. And when you're in the dance music world, there's corporate, but it's also very artistic. And I really like the freedom of being artistic. And as I was a web producer, so as a web producer, you're artistic, but then I started seeing it go more towards numbers and corporate things. And I'm like, I just want to produce good content. And yeah, it just became obvious that I had to seek this out and see what I could do. And then the company offered separation, voluntary separation, and I could totally leave and get paid a little bit per year I'd been there. I'd been there 8 years, and you could take a big chunk of money, and I was like, why wouldn't I do this?
Yeah.
I mean, they're literally going to pay me for the next 6 months, so why don't I just go try it and see what happens? And
yeah. So. And then tell us about how aLIVE coverage came about.
Well, aLIVE coverage is that's a whole different animal. In 2014, Calder Wilson, Taylor Wallace, PJ Morale, and myself were shooting Counterpoint, and they had launched this company as a festival photo team, and started telling me all about it. That was the first festival I shot with them. And the idea was that it's purely a company around festival photography. They build the teams, manage the photography, manage the on-site delivery, the delivery at the end, everything. So it took a lot of the work out of marketing teams, took the work off of their shoulders, and somebody else could handle that, the people who understood photography the best. And then it was, I think, at EDC Puerto Rico in 2014, I don't remember, 2015. Calder, they had apparently decided they wanted to bring me on as a partner. So they offered me the opportunity to do that, and I was like, absolutely. So I became a partner, and then from that point on, we just continued to grow the brand and shoot festivals, and it seems to be working.
Yeah, no, you guys have been killing it. So you've obviously been to so many events. Like, do you have a count of how many festivals and shows?
No count. I can't keep up with it.
What about a favorite or a couple that really stood out to you?
Well, Nocturnal Wonderland, their I think it was the 20th anniversary this past year.
Okay.
That was one of my favorites. Obviously, seeing friends there is nice. There was just something about it. I really like the fact that every Insomniac event there seems to be almost a family about it. So when you go to a festival, you'll see a lot of familiar faces. And that's really cool. I really like that about it. And I also really liked the stage design there was really well done. The production was well done. I've often said Beyond Wonderland is one of my favorites as well.
NorCal, SoCal?
The NorCal. I don't know what it was about it, but it's one, we've been blessed with some incredible sunsets every time we shoot that festival. But again, it's another thing where you go and it's just such a great vibe. Good music, great production, and people just are having a blast. You rarely see anything negative at those events. So I don't know if there's probably others.
Yeah.
But
do you recall a favorite photo of yours or a couple of?
Course.
Give us some of them.
My favorite photo ever shot, and I tell people this all the time, it was at Beyond Wonderland 2014. And it was one of my things I like to do is get into the middle of the crowd. And it's something that more and more of us are doing. And I'd never done it at that point. I was always just afraid, you're carrying all this very expensive camera gear around. I mean, we're talking $20,000 or more of camera gear. And there's this crowd raging, but I was like, I'm just gonna get in. I'm gonna do it. So I kind of started to walk through the crowd, and it was during Cascade's set, and I'm trying to make my way to the middle, and I could hear the music building, crowd was building, they were fired up, and I was like, something's gonna happen. I'm gonna stop for a second, and I stopped, and there was a drop, and of course the pyro went off, and there was a girl on shoulders right in front of me, and I didn't realize that she had started to turn, and so her face was visible in my shot, and she was just in this euphoric moment. She was just completely losing herself, and everything was exposed right. Pyro came out perfect, and then of course there was an Insomniac flag over here.
Of course.
I was like, it's luck. So much of that is luck. For her to actually turn at that moment, you get lucky.
Yeah.
And that was it. And so that was my favorite. Yeah. It's been my favorite ever since.
And so Ray actually had a question that relates to that. How often do you have a moment where you feel like this high or this adrenaline rush come over you while you're working?
Every time. Every single time. I mean, it's to a point where I've actually teared up because I've listened to some of your other interviews, and for me, I don't know if you're going to ask this or not, but I'm so grateful to be in these moments that I'm standing in the middle of a crowd of people who have paid their hard-earned money to be there, and I'm there capturing those moments for them. Yeah, I mean, every single time. The music, the adrenaline from the crowd, you just feel it, and yeah, definitely overcome. I mean, I'll probably be overcome many times this weekend.
Yeah. Is that your favorite part of the job?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said, I love the music, and so for me to be able to get paid to do something I love and then to be in that environment, yeah, absolutely. It's at that moment when you're standing there and the crowd's going crazy and you're capturing like a big pyro shot and you know you're getting it. It's bad if you don't know you're getting it. It's bad if you think you set it for an indoor, like you're in a tent, and then you come outside and your settings are off and you're like, oh my god, I just blew that. That's not good. But when you know you're getting the shot and you're just crushing it, there's no better feeling in the world.
Yeah. What are some of the more difficult things?
Difficult things
Like,
about the job?
Yeah, the job.
That's tough. I think one of it is the physical aspect of it. People will often say you've got the greatest job in the world, and a lot of times I kind of laugh and I think, yeah, I do. To me, it's the greatest job in the world. But I always tell them, but one, I'm traveling all the time, and I miss my wife a lot. Two, we work so many hours at these festivals that people don't even realize. Like, we're there several hours before and after the festival, and we don't stop moving. And so it's like a lot of people can go to a festival and then they can go sit in a grassy area, go have some food somewhere. Not us. We're constantly on the go. I even joked after this weekend, I was at Mysteryland, and I was telling my wife about it, how I said I didn't want to walk as much on Saturday because I think I walked 11 or 12 miles on Friday. I was like, I didn't want to walk as much, but I walked 13 miles. She was like, well, why did you do that? And I was like, well, it was a beautiful sunset, and I was photographing this side, but I want to get the main stage. And so, yeah.
And so you do it anyway.
So I did it anyway.
You always do it anyway.
And that's the hard part about it, because later you're like, oh man, what was I thinking? My legs are on fire, I'm tired. Yeah. For me, one of the negative aspects of it is hearing or seeing a lot of negativity in dance music. I photograph BPM Festival. BPM Festival is one of the greatest festivals in the world. Very, very techno-heavy festival. And you get a lot of people there who will look down at the Insomniac festivals. To me, it's all music. And to me, it doesn't matter what type of music it is. As long as it reaches people and touches people, it doesn't matter. If people are having a good time in Playa del Carmen, or if they're having a good time in Las Vegas, it doesn't matter. That's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard, and I try to keep quiet. I'm very passionate and opinionated, and so I have a hard time sometimes. But yeah, it's for me, it's really hard to just let people say what they gotta say, because I want to fire back. I'm like, it's music, man. How can you be negative with music?
Yeah.
But
I agree. I mean, good music's good music, and that's why I love coming to like a lot of the Insomniac festivals, because they play literally everything. And it's always good vibes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about. I've been on some adventures with you guys. When you guys are shooting. What's the craziest thing you've ever done, either at a music festival or something just not even related to music, to get the shot that you wanted?
The shot that I wanted, or the shot that other people wanted?
Both.
I think the craziest thing I've ever done, and you were there, was climbing out on the JW Marriott sign at aLIVE. And I didn't take a single picture, but there was a whole band of photographers getting the picture. And
oh, the first place we were at, and before the other,
place.
yes.
Yeah, the first place, because that's literally hanging off the side of a, 40 stories?
It was really tall, really high.
Yeah, like literally hanging off the side of a 40-story building. I mean, that was the craziest and probably the stupidest thing I've ever done. I mean, there's no room for error. If you slip, you're done.
I remember asking you that day because you were nervous, but I was kind of like, why'd you do it?
Are you asking me why I did it? I think part of it was an internal, trying to accomplish a fear in my head, because I've often said to people, we do these things where we'll sit on a rooftop and we'll take a picture, and we're in a helicopter, and you guys are crazy. What happens if you fall? And it's like, okay, I'm sitting on the edge of a building. What's the difference of you sitting right there? Granted, if you fell out of the chair, you're not going to die. But you're not going to fall out of the chair. Unless you're extremely drunk, something's wrong, you're not going to fall out of the chair. What's going to make somebody just fall? So it's that kind of that mind over matter thing. I just want to beat that in a way.
Yeah.
So that's why I did it, and I also wanted to contribute to some really cool photography.
Yeah. And I don't think I told you this, but that was, you know, when I was on my way across country, and that was one of those really inspiring moments for me to like go with you guys. And like, I mean, I was just hanging out on the roof, but and to see how you guys work and like the crazy shit you guys do.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have gotten arrested, kicked out, you could have fell off a building, but that was one of those aha moments for me.
I don't think I will do that again. I think there's a limit to what I'm going to do, and a part of that is because, I mean, I am married, and I have a wife that's waiting for me to come home, and, you know, there's certain points of how much you're going to put it out there to, you know, take a risk, and it's an unnecessary risk to me. It's a risk that's not worth anything that I'm going to get out of it. So sitting off the edge of a building is completely fine with me. I'll do that, but yeah, I won't do that again. But you're right. In a way, it's kind of like I see these people that do it, and sometimes they're overcoming. There's a guy that I met in New York who went to Dubai and climbed up some of the tallest buildings in the world. The guy is afraid of heights, but he's beating his fears, and it's like that. To me, that's inspiring. That's like what you should do it for. It's not for the photo. It's more for this other. It's in your mind.
Yeah, yeah. And tell us a little bit about just the progression of your progress and your photos, because I did look through your Instagram, like pictures from a long, long time ago, and the ones now.
Yeah.
So they've changed a lot for the better. But tell us, you know, how you learn, like your best way to learn and your advice to others.
Oh goodness. Well, I think all my photos suck, to be honest with you. That's true. I do. I'm very hard on myself.
You are too hard on yourself.
But I think most artists are that way in a way. Like people are really, you're a perfectionist. It's just, I don't know. I think you go out there and just keep trying to find something that connects. And for me, you know, there are people who are really good at taking portraits. There are people who are really good at, I don't know, doing landscape photos, whatever. But for me, it was connecting with people at these festivals and capturing it in a way that makes them think they were there or reminds them what they saw when they were there. I think that's how I got better, because I stopped looking at a festival as almost like a fan. It was like, oh, I want to shoot this DJ.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who the DJ is. What matters is what do the people see? What are they experiencing? And that's, I think, it's really a lot of what Insomniac has done. You know, when I first started shooting Insomniac stuff, my first Insomniac festival was EDC New York in 2012. And I just walked around and shot DJs the whole time. But when Bennett took it over and he actually had met with everybody in the company, they were developing this photo program, he said, you know, look guys, there's a real interest in capturing the festival perspective. Not necessarily, it's not as much about the artist. We want each artist covered, but we really, really want the festival covered. And that changed a lot. That forced me to look around and actually start seeing more of the festival. Like I said, getting into the middle of that big crowd and main stage. It's because of that. Because it was no longer about just who's on the stage. It's about what are you seeing?
Yeah.
You know, capture your perspective in the crowd, the girls on the shoulders, the heart hands, the people just loving it and seeing everything happen in front of them. So that's what I think really helped make me a little bit better photographer. Yeah. You're shooting different things at that point too. It's not just the same old over-the-shoulder DJ shot. So. And
then any piece of advice for a lot of the newbies out there trying to break through, trying to work for Insomniac, trying to take your job?
I mean, really?
You give us some advice, you know?
Oh, okay. I would say don't get involved in the dance music scene. Don't. And I only say that, and I had one person tell me once that I was a dick for saying that. Sorry, can I say that?
You can say that.
Okay.
At NeoNL, you can say anything.
Okay. The truth is, there are so many people that want to shoot for Insomniac. There are so many people that want to do what we do, and that's great, but on the other hand, there has to be a reality. Not everybody can do it, and most people, they do it because they love the music, and they somehow want to be involved in that music scene, and they see this as an easy way in, but it's not at this point. Like when I got involved, it was in 2010 was when I did my first festival. And back then, there just wasn't a lot of people. There was a fair number, but the concept of a festival photo team and all that was really, like Bennett with Insomniac was really the only one that I know that was doing it. And so it was relatively easy, but now there's literally thousands and thousands of people that will do it, and they'll do it for free.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tell people, don't do it then. Just don't get involved, because you're going to struggle, and you're not going to get to make money, and you're going to be fighting all these other people. The best advice I could give anyone is to find a niche that they're good at. And I've heard people say it all the time, just shoot. Buy a camera and just go shoot. Shoot anything. Shoot your parents. Shoot the trash. I don't care. Shoot anything. Play with light. Wait till the sun's going down. Wait till you have directional light. Do anything you can to learn how light works and start playing with your camera to capture that. And then eventually you'll start to find a niche. Because a lot of us in the Insomniac photo team have been doing it for years. I had a guy at Buku Festival ask me, how do you get involved? How do I get your job? I'm like, well, how long have you been shooting? He's like, oh, 6 months. I said, well, you got about 8 more years to go before you can get at the level of the guys that are in aLIVE. No one in aLIVE has been shooting less than 8 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Festivals, I mean, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm one of the newest ones, so that's what I'm saying. It's tough, but
yeah.
Finding your niche is definitely the best way.
Okay. Thanks for that advice. And before we let you go,
okay,
what's the best way to connect with you? Where can we find your awesome photos?
You can find everything, everything I do, everything my team does on aLIVE coverage. aLIVEcoverage.com, and on Facebook it's just aLIVE coverage.
Mm-hmm.
aLIVE. So, just people always get that confused. They're like, what, live? Nope, aLIVE coverage.
Yeah. And what are you most excited for the rest of the week here in Vegas?
Oh my goodness. I think I'm very excited for the new circuit grounds at EDC. From what I have heard, it's going to be a kind of a revolutionary stage experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people are going to connect with it, and it's probably going to change the way festival stages are built.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to see that and see what happens.
Yeah, I see a really stacked lineup there as well, so can't wait to check it out.
Exactly.
All right, thanks, Doug.
Thank you.